growing weary of running from room to room, practicing one-tooth insurance-driven dentistry? Then stay tuned for the latest episode of The Lionhearted, where Dr. Stephen Rasner will hand you the blueprint for what many call the gold standard of general practice dentistry.
Hi everyone, Dr. Steve Rasner here with another episode of The Lionhearted Dentist. If I sound a little softer or I look disheveled, it's because it's one of the After Work podcast series where I am a little disheveled and a little bit tired. But here we are, and thank you again to everybody that tunes in each week. It does help me out if you send me emails and let me know what it is you want to hear or what part of The Lionhearted Dentist interests you this week. So last week we certainly talked about some clinical gems, and I have many more of those for future podcasts. But I just kind of speak up as to what's on my mind given, the day of the week I do these and what I think would resonate with most of you. I do want to tell you, and I know lots of you like this when I keep it real. I want to tell you that I just finished a historic 5 or maybe 6 week run of productivity in my office. I mean, historic. 6 back-to-back weeks of 6-digit productivity. It was beyond amazing. And I don't mean right over the 6-digit mark, well into 6 digits. And I'm only saying that to you because this week has been terrible. I don't know what will break, and I don't know if I care at this point. I don't know. That's probably not true. I do react strongly as soon as I sense that things aren't going as well. And let's be honest, when I was having those weeks, I had everything clicking that would result in that type of a week. I had abundant new patients. Well, where does that come from? It comes from word of mouth and comes from your marketing. I had robust recall schedules. So invariably, there were patients within recall that might have been ready finally to replace that missing molar or to schedule a quadrant of restorations that they've been putting off for a while. It just all came together. And isn't it funny how when those weeks tend to happen, everybody seems to be stepping up to the plate admirably. And quite the opposite when things aren't going well. I mean, it can't be unique to me. If I walk in and I'm used to, a really significant Monday for a month and a half, for 6 consecutive weeks, and this particular Monday was way off, it is my nature to begin to examine why. Why was that so different? And by the way, sometimes it's just not meant to be a highly productive week. What I mean by that is we just don't all get the same number of new patients weekly or have the same number of services evolve or come out of hygiene recall. But I will say this, there is a common denominator that makes all of that happen. So the first takeaway for this week is how quickly our score can change, right? And I want you to feel that. I feel it. I want you to know that. And I don't think you should wait, even after you just had a record-setting 6 weeks in a row like I did. I don't think you should sit back on your heels and say, well, it was a bad week. Let me see what next week is. That's not how I think. I don't think that's how the Lionhearted Dentist thinks. If you examine the key parameters, was hygiene filled? And if it wasn't filled, why wasn't it? Is somebody not confirming? Do you have somebody new doing that job at your front desk? Is there we'll try to fill it kind of attitude? Hygiene is the backbone. A great, strong recall is the backbone of every practice tuned in tonight. Are you kidding me? That must be kept in place. And if you want to hear how I do that, that will be fodder for another show. But because I can't talk about everything, because what I want to talk about tonight is I want to get specific about this thing you hear me talk about all the time called the relationship-based practice. Well, what is that really? You hear me say it all the time. What is a relation? I mean, is it the same if your practice is in Belgium, Ireland, Germany, Russia that listens to me, Brazil? Yeah, it is the same in all of our countries. The relationship-based practice. And who gives a damn? Why is that even important? Is it a fancy, I don't know, connection of words that sounds like it should be talked about? Mm-mm. It is this. Think about this, guys. Everybody that you do business with, that you repeat your business with, the person that takes care of your car, the person that you do the banking with, that you do your banking with, the person you take to the veterinarian, the pets that you take to the veterinarian that you continue to want to do business with. If any of those businesses made you feel insignificant, unconnected, you wouldn't go to them. So I think it's worth talking not only about for a little bit tonight, but I also equally think it's important to literally tell you, how do you make that happen? Because it's not that hard, but it takes consistent action by you, the owner, the boss. And why is it worth it? Because people, being our patients, are more likely to refer other people to you if they feel a connection. So those of you in associateships right now, some of you surely are going to benefit by the productivity you do. So even within your circle of the practice, you should be focused, whether it's your dental assistant, whoever. I'm sure you're connected to the front desk people, to those employees. I would have meetings with them. I would let them know how I want my patients to feel if it's not a stressed point in the overall practice that you belong to. And certainly all the solo and group practitioners listening tonight should want to subscribe to that, because at the end of the day, you know what it results in the most? Something called yes. Yes, doc, I want to proceed with that treatment, and I'm willing to pay for that treatment. That's why. Not because it makes your bank account fat, but because you're in business. And when you don't have to worry about cases or having enough cases, it's a beautiful way to practice, which, by the way, is a cornerstone of the Lionhearted dentist. That is why it is completely a strong cornerstone as to why I'm able for so many years to do what I've been able to do in an area of the United States that's not a place that people seek to live. And so I want you to remember this right now, no matter what country you are listening to me from, you can shape your practice starting tomorrow to be a relationship-based practice, which, by the way, is much more fun to practice that way, to walk into people that are connected to they're not just coming to you, well, they are coming to you because they trust the product, which is your dental service. But they wouldn't keep coming to you Oh, you better believe this. If they liked your dental service, but they really did not like a number of people on your team because they didn't have any sense or desire to behave in a way that would shape a relationship-based practice. So the first thing to do is to spend time with your team members, helping them know what's important around here. And that certainly would be everybody on the team, certainly the hygienist, all the first contact people would be the first people that you have to be absolutely positive of. Get this. That front desk person at the desk who greets them. That person on the telephone, by the way, that takes the intake on that first call. That's where it starts. So, do you think you have a very special person in those two positions, or do you have just whoever's there, whoever's closest to the phone? That better not be what your answer is, because that's part of your problem. Do you get me? Do you understand that this isn't an accident to why I'm here talking to you, that I have a practice that a lot of people aspire to? And I am sitting here telling you it is designed to be that type of practice. And the person that answers my phone and intakes, a number of people obviously answer my phones, but the person that responds to the new patient phone call, or by the way, a concierge of the practice as well, a person that usually is often the same person. If somebody has a great personality, you need to use them to deal with difficult patients, which happens to all of us, right? And really, my philosophy of dealing, not that what this subject's about tonight, with difficult patients is a lot like Nordstrom's, the famous chain store, upscale chain store, where we really go out of our way to solve the problem in the patient's favor, even if it's not really in their favor. And that's a loaded talk I should speak about at a different time. That said, I will tell you something real quick that's happened. That's the beauty of doing these podcasts on the day of a practice day. I fired a patient today. You want to know why? And I don't like saying that to you, and I'm not that kind of a person that enjoys that, but I do want you to know that I draw the line. And I recommended a crown for this patient. And he had one crown, and clearly needed a crown on a symptomatic tooth, lower left first molar, had a 25 or 30-year-old amalgam restoration in it. A first-year dental student probably would have made the proper diagnosis and treatment plan. It was just one crown and one filling. And when he heard the fee, he went through the roof. He said some derogatory things about me. This does not happen often. And if you ever want to know if I'm honest, I didn't have to include this. I'm not proud of it. It doesn't feel good. I probably did not have a relationship thing going on with this guy. To be quite honest with you, when I saw him in recall, I did not recognize him. And I don't recognize 100% of my patients. But he dropped a lot of F-bombs and said, I can go to another dentist and he can fill it. And if it lasts till I'm 80, this guy was about 70, that's fine with me. I can't begin to dissect what's wrong with that conversation. So I had my Michelle, who is my new patient coordinator, who is my concierge, who takes the new patient calls, call him back and tell him I think it's best if he goes somewhere else. And he then commenced to let us know many other F-bombs. Then he called back and said he really liked getting his teeth cleaned at my office, and he'd be coming back for that, as if I would have said okay to that. Now, I have told you in other podcasts to build a giant nucleus, that not everybody has to go your way. That's true. I would add to that, don't include not nice patients in that nucleus. The sooner they reveal their true cards and they just don't align with your philosophy, or they're just not nice, they're mean. Anybody in a dental office as a patient or any business that's comfortable dropping F-bombs, you got to get rid of. And he's not the first, and I probably won't be my last. So that said, we don't bat 1,000%. So how do you do it? You have a meeting. Listen, you guys do a lot of things. I know this because I see you online, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you do these cutesy little funny things, and you'll put them up in a video, how long you can do a squat versus your staff members up against a wall. I've seen everything. And it is funny. It's cute. It's not going to get you a bunch of new patients. Put your energy and your time. If you want to do both and be humorous on Facebook and Instagram and all that, sure, go ahead. But if you want long-term success, spend the time doing things that pay high dividends. I would have a meeting. I'd have more than one meeting and talk about, well, what is important when a new patient comes in? What do I mean about a relationship? Well, it means knowing stuff about them. Having people at the front desk who care about knowing stuff about them. Their birthdays. They went on a recent vacation. Somebody was hospitalized in their home or had a surgery done. They know other members of the family of the patient that's in the office that day who come to us. It's not complicated. Connections. They smile a lot. They're pleasant. You can't have somebody at your front desk in that department if they're moody, if they get thrown off by bad stuff. No, listen. I never said the Lionhearted dentist practice was easy. It does require copious amount of effort and energy, but it's worth it. Why wouldn't you want somebody that's over the top with a great personality? So, the other stuff is everybody counts. The person that comes up to the reception room and brings the patient back, not just the new patient, any patient, they got to have a personality. You get me? You can't just have Joe Schmo go up to after everybody else did their jobs in this initial 1 or 2 minutes it's happening as this patient's coming into your office. So certainly, even the sterilization assistant who turns over the rooms in our office, she's often the one bringing them back. By the way, I want her to look professional at all times. Everybody is part of this team that shouts, we're different. This is better. You feel it. Another thing, so we know special events about them because it's all in the computer. We make it our business to know that stuff. Let me tell you something. This is the fun part. The hard part, but the part often overlooked. And if you think I'm exaggerating, just watch the businesses that you go into in the next week. Remember my conversation right now, no matter what country you're living in. And some of those businesses operate as if they can, for one thing, they let you sit there or stand there. I have zero patience for that. The second that patient comes into our office or your office, the curtain went up and we're on stage to perform and provide a service for them that they can't get at other places. Nor will they want to go back to. I have lost in the last year more than 1 or 2 patients for fee reasons. that left me and asked to come back, at least two that I can think of this year, I'll say. So we're in the first 4.5 months of 2021. That has happened at least twice, if not three times, where they, wanted to get a second opinion. And look, I'm pretty confident that if you run it the way I'm talking to you, you're not going to have too much competition with a lot of offices that will keep that level of engagement going. Because it doesn't even end. It starts again when they come back into the operatory. Does it not? What are your dental assistants like? Are they moody? Do they smile? Are they positive? We walk them back out. And, basically we're creating this special thing I call the cheers feeling. Those of you that might be a little older remember this sitcom from, maybe you don't, from many years ago called Cheers. And it was a bar in Boston. And, everybody knew your name, I think, was their motto. So what are the details here? Well, first of all, we brand that we're like this. So even the community knows in our branding, which is our marketing, they know that this is what we stand for. And so we're proud to promote that. So, being on time. I mean, we've been over that before. That's not a hard thing to do. So far, the takeaway is having a relationship-based practice requires strategy. So do you have the right players? And those key players, without a doubt, the first key players are first contact people. Who's taking the intake information on a new patient? What's the first thing that the new patient, or any patient, sees and feels when they do walk in to your office? So that's a very big part of this. They're in charge of making sure it looks the way I want it to look. There's no time and no excuses for half-drank water bottles or anything else, or a mask laying around in the reception room. And how does that happen? Even the glass on the door between my reception room and walking back to the operatories is probably cleaned hourly. Because, I don't know, do smudgy fingerprints on glass make you all warm and fuzzy inside? They don't me. So it's that. As I said to you, when they walk in, does everybody know the role? It's being on time. It's just not an issue, and hasn't been in my practice for years, because I made it a priority. And I let the people that work for me know it's a priority. I've had times, I want you to know, where I've had really quality people work for me, like my hygiene team, that felt comfortable coming out to get the 9 o'clock patient at 9:05. There's no excuse for that. How can we be behind when we don't start till 9 o'clock? Somebody that welcomes them. That's another expected role of the front desk. And you can't fake this stuff. You either want to know about a recent vacation, operation, an illness of somebody in their family, a new baby, a new job, all that stuff. And it's constantly going on in my office. It's not, oh, he's listening, we better pour it on right now, meaning me. Other areas that embrace or resonate a relationship-based practice would be people that call your office on a daily basis that you didn't know were going to call, that are existing patients. So the way that we handle this, and if you want a copy of this, please write to me at drrasner@aol.com or Beth. This is very important. The way that we've managed this problem, in other words, how do we handle a patient on a tomorrow's schedule that's not on that schedule, that's going to call us tomorrow? Well, the first thing we do is we've instructed and taught the front desk team all the possibilities. This really happened in meetings that we had. So they're taking intake information. A crown is loose. Is it a temporary or permanent? Is it our crown? In the end, it doesn't matter. Where is it at? Is it on a root canal tooth or is it a vital tooth? Is it in the aesthetic zone? And that information is put on a neon bright orange piece of paper, clipped to the patient's chart. Those of you that are chartless, I'm sure you can come up with a different system. But the reason it's at the front desk is because in our office, I go by that front desk, or my lead assistant does, at least once every couple hours. And sometimes the staff needs direction as where to put this patient. And it's all, by the way, been spelled out in their training. What can wait, what can't wait. A lost crown in the aesthetic zone, can't wait. Somebody in acute pain, can't wait. So we have training in areas where they know to put these patients in. Another way to have a fluid relationship-based practice is to minimize the number of stops a problem has to make to be resolved. So the only way to get that is to have multiple people in your office cross-trained. In other words, if somebody has a question about their bill or insurance, and you only have one person that knows all those secrets, that can get sticky because nobody wants to hear, quite honestly, Susie's on vacation, she'll be back next week. The other thing for you to remember is learning the value of protocols. A protocol is something a business does when something happens, a what to do when. It was the title of my first book, the protocol book, What to Do When. And the reason I wrote that book is because I got tired of not everybody being on board in my practice as to how we handle situations. So you can still get it, by the way, if you write to us. Pretty damn good book. But what it means in this podcast tonight is that all the office has gone over all the different scenarios that can happen. Literally, I think all the scenarios of a patient calling, what they may ask for. Protocol also goes over how to open the office in the morning, how to close the office at night. What do we do with answering machines, or how do we check for messages? And so, listen to what I'm saying to you. People generally don't call my office at 9 or 10 in the morning with an issue and somebody doesn't get back to them because I have a protocol that prevents that. That's the orange, bright, neon sign that I use because I made it that way so I can't miss it. And the staff's trained to come back to me if an hour has passed and nobody has resolved this. I'm going to close with 3 things that are relevant to relationship-based practices. One is you should try to do something clinically, certainly every couple days. That's an extra thing you did for this patient with no expectation of reimbursement, without the patient knowing that till they get to the front desk. I mean, it's the little things that we do. Maybe you put a tooth back on a partial, even if it wasn't your partial, or a tooth back on a denture. Or maybe you found a 2-surface filling next to one you were scheduled to do, but you hadn't seen that prior. I mean, the list is endless and endless for us. Somebody coming in, a really quality patient, and do an emergency visit as in an x-ray, a diagnosis. The list is re-cementing a crown that came off that may not even be yours. You want to get major points from a patient? Do something like that. We do it literally every single day, not every couple days. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. If you have a busy practice or you're growing that way, and you have to leave your answer machine on while you're working, and you have one of those cute messages that says, if you called during this business hour and got this message, we are serving and treating another patient. Well, guess what? Nobody really cares. if you're dedicated to another patient. Nope, they want a live voice to get to. So, look, I can only give you my point of view on these podcasts. I can only give you the Lionhearted point of view. And there's a slide I always go back to, and it says, everything counts. Everything counts, including not having a machine answer the phone while you're there. That's my point of view. So that's it for this week with the Lionhearted. I hope these few tips help some of you. And I look forward to doing whatever I can to lead you down the road of maximum productivity and satisfaction and fulfillment with the great practice of dentistry that we both chose. See you next week on the Lionhearted.